Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. Thanks for watching the show. I'm your host, Coach Tripp, Paul Tripoli. Got a special guest today, Walt Patulski. That's right, number one pick in the 1972 NFL Draft. Notre Dame great. Went to CBA, Christian Brothers Academy in high school. Walt, thanks for joining the show, buddy.
Oh, Paul, it's my pleasure.
My
Looking
gosh.
forward to it.
Holy cow, we're going to have a blast. 75 years young. Notre Dame defensive end, very first pick in the draft, a Lombardi Award winner at Notre Dame. I guess it's the best place to start, Walt, is from the beginning. Talk about mom and dad and your brother Ronnie, because my dad coached Ronnie. Talk about growing up.
Well, we go way back. My dad was our baseball coach. And my brother Paul had to carry his birth certificate around with him because he was so big. He was like 6'3" as a 12-year-old, 200 pounds. So people wanted to know how old he was. So he'd pull his birth certificate out and show him. Dad started us with baseball. And I really never played any organized football. I went out for Pop Warner. One day I rode my bicycle down to Liverpool High School, and by the time I got down there, I was all tired and all beat up. So first thing they do is made us run around the track twice, and then do military push-ups for some of the exercises, and then I drove my bike home, and I told my mother that football's not for me. That was one practice. So then I never played organized football until I was a sophomore in college, when our coach Frank Capoletti came up to me and said, "Have you ever thought about playing football?" I said, "Well, what do you think?" And so that's how I got started as a tight end, and
Wow.
It just went crazy from there. I played linebacker and tight end, and then in my senior year, I remember the day he came up to me after gym class, said, "We're going to move you to fullback next year." And I said, "Fullback? What do they do?" And he said, "Well, you're going to carry the ball." And that's when kind of the magic started to happen. And that was the year Larry Zonka was up at Syracuse University. And I remember one of the times that he came up to speak at a pep rally for us. It was a football pep rally. Larry came up and they introduced us as the two greatest fullbacks in America. And yeah.
Oh my gosh, the switch, the CBA. Talk a little bit about your high school teammates, Coach Capoletti, how tough practices were. Were they as tough as Notre Dame and tough as Notre Dame and NFL practices? They were pretty brutal. Joe Riccardi was a teammate. Jay Sacco, your left guard, was a teammate. Talk about your teammates in your team at CBA and how tough practices were under
I try to forget about that, Paul. Nobody looked forward to it. But just kind of an add-on story. I don't want to jump ahead, but little did I know. I'll tell you a story about being recruited, and I'll go back to the high school. So after that, when Zonka was up there at the pep rally, and he said that Ben really wants you, and he wants you to play fullback up there. And little did I know that 5 years later, I was going to go head to head with Larry Zonka in the backfield. Whoa. Yeah. And I remember this one particular play. And these are the kind of things you never forgot.
Yeah.
Where you went into the backfield of the Dolphins. This was under 72 team, and they went undefeated. And I hit him in the backfield, 3 feet deep in the backfield, and he dragged me to the line of scrimmage. I mean, nobody blocked me. This is This is what you call very, very discouraging, where nobody blocks you. You hit somebody straight on for a loss, and they carry you to the line of scrimmage. Bet my face mask all. The fact they had to straighten it out. So I just thought that was kind of ironic that Larry was up there talking about that Ben wanted me to go to Syracuse and play. Um, but just another story. I go back to the high school in a second. Is that Duffy Doherty at Michigan State and Ben Schwartzwalter were really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
And one day at home after practice, I got this call from Duffy Doherty, and I knew they weren't actively recruiting me, but my dad answers the phone and hands it over to me and says, Duffy Doherty wants to talk to you. So he immediately said, look, while I'm not recruiting you for Michigan State, I just want to tell you that I know Era Precision really well, and he recruits fullbacks, and he's going to move you to someplace else. And if you really want to be a fullback, you better go to Syracuse.
Walt, are you still with us?
Yeah, I am. So,
why didn't you go to Syracuse and play fullback? Did your mom or dad like Notre Dame, or what did you like about a Notre Dame that made you go away?
Well, when they had a thing called Universal Notre Dame Night, and so the local alumni every year would have a speaker from the university. And they invited me to come, and the one year was Father Hesburgh. That was the year, my senior year in high school. Father Hesburgh was the speaker. So my mom and dad and myself, we go to the banquet, and on the way in, there's Father Hesburgh, and he starts talking Polish to my mother. And so that was it. And she said, he started to say Yakshu Mash and Dobja and all that stuff. And my mother turns to me and goes, I think you're going to Notre Dame.
Oh my gosh. And it wasn't a bad decision, man, from
No.
Syracuse
to Notre Dame. The other thing, Paul, Duffy Doherty not only was a real good football coach, but he was a pretty good prognosticator. I lasted about 3 weeks at fullback at Notre Dame.
Oh my gosh. So you become a defensive end. Oh my gosh. You guys had a good high school team. So you had I think you guys had a lot of Division I players on that CBA team.
Yeah.
Talk about your high school teammates in the season that you had.
Well, we had, I would say, Joe went to Alabama. Jay Sacco went to Boston College on a ride. Buddy DeDario went to Boston College as well. Wow. Kenny Ogier went to Holy Cross on a full scholarship.
Wow.
Where else? We had and a couple. I think there was like 7 or 8 guys got
holy cow
right onto other teams. Yeah.
So you get to Notre Dame. You adjust pretty quickly. You actually started every game that you were eligible at Notre Dame. 71, you win the Lombardi Award. What was that like? I love Vince Lombardi. What was that honor like, Walt?
That was amazing because there was the second year of the award, and they had it in the Astrodome in Houston, Texas. And George and Barbara Sr. were there, and he actually presented me with the trophy. And that he wasn't president at the time. He was ambassador to the United Nations and would soon go on to be president. So that was really a thrill. Not only was the Astrodome at that time was the largest indoor facility in the world.
Right.
Yeah. And that was the second. And then the Lombardi family, I think that one year Marie was there, Mrs. Lombardi, and then Vince Jr. was there. And that was fairly recently. And the Lombardi family has only given their name to to two things, and one
Right.
was the Lombardi Award, and the other, as we all know, is the Lombardi Trophy
Right.
for the NFL champion. So it really was a tremendous honor, and I've been very fortunate. They've invited me back a whole bunch of times when it was convenient for me to go, and I've been
Oh,
there. Yeah, and there's been a number of amazing players that have been either one, two, three, or four, because they always bring the four finalists back, and they've always been drafted very highly.
wow. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Is it true that you're still the latest number one NFL draft from Notre Dame? Has anybody been picked number one since you were in 72?
No, since when AFL and NFL came together in 1967, so there's been 57 number one draft choices, and that's what I refer to as the draft king. There's been 57 draft kings, of which I am one of them. Uh,
Oh my God, the money, Walt. Has it gotten just crazy?
uh,
Tell me another honor. I know Lombardi Award was an honor, All American, first round pick of the draft.
yeah,
But
MVP. I was MVP of the Hula Bowl.
MVP of the Hula Bowl and
Yeah,
captain was voted captain of the Notre Dame team. Was that one of your biggest honors?
yes, it was. I, I have a story about that role. If if you
Yeah,
want me to go into it at
yeah,
this
yeah,
time, yeah.
absolutely.
It was about Era with working with Era Precision, who's I had him for all my time out there, and just had the world of respect for him. But I'll just go through our bowl history. So in our sophomore year, Notre Dame hadn't been to a bowl game in 50 years.
Wow.
So the university had said, "Look, we do because you roll back the time 50 years. Notre Dame would won everything. They were a football factory."
Right.
And so the administration said, "We're going to go to sleep," and they went to sleep for literally 50 years, and not emphasizing football because they thought if you went to a bowl game, you would be really emphasizing, that you're a football factory. So,
Right.
Era and a guy named Moose Krause, who was the athletic director, talked to Father Joyce and Father Hesberg. They finally convinced them, and plus, there was a lot of money at stake there too.
Yeah.
So in my sophomore year, we played Texas and we lost down in the Cotton Bowl. And then that spring, Era, for some reason, knew he was going back. And he talked to the coach from another Texas school that played them, and he came up with the mere wishbone. So
Wow.
it was the identity. It was flip. Just think of flip flopping the wishbone,
Yeah.
and spring ball. That's all we practiced. It was
Wow.
like we're gonna go. I was just absolutely amazed that he was that confident. Sure enough, in my junior year, we were 9-0. We went out to Southern Cal. We played Southern Cal out in the rain, and Joe Theismann was our quarterback. Yeah, and they beat us. I think it was 42-28. He shot up, and Joe threw for over 500 yards passing. Yeah. So
So they adapt, man. Those great coaches. How lucky were we, Walt? You playing
yeah,
for a football factory at Notre Dame, me playing at Alabama, and having the two greatest coaches that ever lived. Coach
I
Bryant
know.
could adapt. He set the wishbone and surprised it on Southern Cal. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I've got.
coaches, man.
In fact, I got Air right here.
Oh yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
was. Talk about some of the other coaches. Your position coach, somebody that was really impactful in your career, your high school and college carear.
Well,
Talk about it.
going back to Frank Appoletti was amazing. He just, as a high school coach, he was so involved in it and cared so much about the players. I
Yeah,
mean, he was just, when we didn't win the senior we didn't win the city league championship in my senior year, so he was really heartbroken because Cortland beat us. We had one loss, so we never. And then there was no playoffs back when we
right,
played.
right.
So that was that. then I was fortunate enough to have some time with Era, and in fact, one time in my junior year, in the Indianapolis Club of Notre Dame had him come down and speak, and he asked me to join him. So I had him in the car for 3.5 hours. I mean, can you imagine? Imagine having Bear Bryant in the car for three and a
No,
half hours,
I
just
know, man. I would
just
love
the
that. Yeah.
just the two of you. And then I worked up I said, why did you ever move me from defensive end to defensive end? And he said, look, we were never going to run the ball that much. We were going to throw. We had Joe and we had Gatewood and a bunch of receivers. You would carry the ball 5 or 6 times. You would have been bored.
Yep. You became the first round pick. Oh my gosh, I think you did
Yeah.
the right thing. Those coaches, they knew how to move the pieces of the puzzle together. We were all changed positions. I changed positions in college too to strong safety, my natural position. They know where they know what they're doing, man. They know what they're talking about. All right, so 4 years with the Bills, 2 with the St. Louis Cardinals. Talk about your time in the NFL. And my college, I got to tell you, Walt, and I think it might be the same for you. My college coaches and high school coaches, especially O'Leary, were better than my NFL coaches. I think the NFL, some of the NFL position coaches and even head coaches, they got their job because of who they know, not what they know. But it's
Well,
true.
I'm glad you said that because I was so underwhelmed by my position coaching. And then I had Stan Jones at Buffalo, and Stan was college and NFL Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And he was one, I mean, you can't do much better than that.
Yeah.
But in terms of technique and teaching things, I mean, I'm sorry, I just didn't see it. And at St. Louis, we had a guy named Willie Zapalak, and it was just a kind of a good old boy. And
Right. Right. Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
know, I agree 100% with what
yeah,
you
I
said.
know, man. It's amazing. People out there don't understand.
No,
I talked with Rocky Colburn, a friend of mine that I played college ball with, and he's from here in Pensacola at Tate High School, and he coached in college and in the pro. And he told me Trip, and Rocky doesn't say anything unless it's the truth coming out.
yeah,
He said Trip, man, there's better high school coaches than there are coaches in the pros. And I'm like, you're right, Rocky, man. I mean, my position coach at Alabama was so much better than all 3 of my pro DB coaches. It's not even funny.
yeah,
All right, so at Notre Dame, you guys were ranked in the top 6 all 3 years. 25-4-1 was your record. You only lost 4 games. Well,
yeah.
talk about some moments, because I know there's so many games. I don't even remember all the games when I played in, but I do remember moments that happened that we're proud of. Talk about your team and your moments.
Well, I just want to tell you, we're talking about Era, and you have an opportunity to be with Era, so I kind of really took advantage of that time. But I mean, as I said, Paul, imagine just spending that much time with Bear Bryant and being able to ask him any. You just had him captured. So, anyways, I think I kind of got to know him a little better than most because he was so busy.
Right.
I mean, doing stuff, and you never got 2 seconds with him. I mean, if you
Right.
got, except if you were in trouble, maybe. that was it. So this is kind of an interesting story. So after we went back, so we go back and we play Texas again, and we beat them. So, but unfortunately, LSU and Nebraska were playing, and Nebraska wind up beating LSU. So Nebraska was national championship won the national championship in that year, and we were number 2. So we finished out with the 9-1 record.
Right.
So the following year, every poll in America, Playboy All American, and all they picked their team. Everybody had us as number 1. So in our second game, our quarterback Bill Eder goes down. So then we wind up. I think our record was 8-3. So I think we were 8-3. maybe 8-2. It was a good record, but we weren't going to play for the national championship. Okay,
Right.
so the team was so disappointed that we weren't going to play.
Right.
So we got invited to the Gator Bowl. All right. So the coaches and the coaches' wives and their families are out there. They were like carrying signs, "Let's go to the Gator Bowl. I'll have a great time," and everything. So Era said, "Why don't we're going to let the players decide whether they want to go to accept this bowl game." So after practice one day before dinner, we voted, and Tom Gatewood and I were co-captains, and Tom says they voted it down, and I said, well, why don't you go tell him, Tom? Tell Lara that they voted it down. And so I said, well, no, I can't do that. It would be much harder for him to kill two of us rather than one. So I'll go with you. So we go over and he's in his office, and we come walking in and I go, "Coach," and he looks up at us and he said, what was the vote? He said, "They voted it down." And without even thinking, he goes, "Vote again."
I remember, hey, back in those days, I remember Coach Bryant coming in and say, "Let's vote on a bowl game. What bowl game do you guys want to go to?" I mean, that just doesn't happen nowadays. It's
No,
just going to this one.
So next day we go and we vote again, and guess what? The players, you kind of got mush for brain when you're 19, 20, 21 years old, and you're going to go down there for a week in Florida and have a good time, and nobody wants to go. I mean, come on.
Yeah, right.
What's wrong with you guys?
Yeah.
As my dad used to say, "You got shit for brains." But so they voted it down again, and we go back and we told Era, and he said, "All right, I'm not dragging a team down there that doesn't want to go." And then during all this hocus pocus, we went down to LSU. We played down there in the Tigers' den in the swamp, and we got our ass kicked, and we lost another game. So
yeah.
So that
can't
was
go to bowl games. Yeah. Well, the standard, Walt, is so high for your school in Alabama and Notre Dame. The standard was so high that you're always in the national title hunt. And if you're not, you're going to a lesser bowl. You're not motivated. It's just, it's just not a good. It's not a good thing. Bowl games are who's motivated the most in bowl games usually ends up winning.
Yeah, exactly, Paul. And I think that's Era didn't want to do that and walk into. Right. Yeah.
Coach Bryant hated that, man.
No.
Go ahead.
So I mean that's one of the, he said, "Yeah, I'm not going to drag a team down that doesn't really want to play," and
nope.
Which was when you look back now, and it was like, what the hell were we thinking?
Yeah.
But I mean, we were. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Did you go?
We were 8-2 or something. We were 8-2. I mean, teams today, if you're 8-2, you're playing for the national championship sometimes.
Did you go to the Hula Bowl? Did you go to the Hula Bowl?
Yeah, I went to the Hula Bowl and was the most valuable player in that. That was it was kind of a love fest. We were out there. Bob Devaney was our coach from Nebraska, and we just went out there and had a really good time. It was so beautiful, and most of the top players that were drafted that year went to the Hula Bowl. The other one was to go to the Senior Bowl, where you actually have to work and practice hard, and they paid you. At that time, it was $1,500.
Jeez. Well, I ask somebody this question almost every time that I interview them, especially if you played at every level, high school, college, and pro. And when I talk to my high school kids that I coach, I remind them of this fact. What was the most special and most impactful years? Was it high school, college, or NFL?
Oh, definitely college. Yeah, probably my junior year was probably my best year,
Yeah.
and like in the spring, I just remember what the stuff that stands out. Like I remember my junior year, which would be my senior year, so spring ball junior year. It was like I could do no wrong. I kind of knew when there was going to be a pass. I knew when there. I mean, I couldn't be blocked. I mean, it's just like one of those things where you're just kind of floating, and you just got you're just using all your instincts, and then
Yeah.
that's not as you know, it's not always there and available.
Right. Right. Hey, Paul, or Walt, talk about your brothers. I know your little brother Ronnie. He was a great athlete. Talk about Paul. But three boys growing up in the household. You guys, I mean, I had four boys in my family, and three of us were athletes. So we were all three of us going at it every time. Talk about Paul and Ronnie a little bit.
Yeah. Paul was my oldest brother. He went to Black Hills State College and played football there. He played 3 years up there. And then he kind of stayed up there. Paul is 3 years older than I am. So kind of, it's one of those things where, some of your siblings just kind of disappear a little bit on you. He
Yeah.
was just finding his way in the world. And then my brother Ron went to CBA as well. So the two of us went to CBA. Paul went to Liverpool High School, and then my
Yeah.
youngest brother Rick went to Bishop Ludden, which I've never forgiven him
Oh, that's
for.
right, Rick. Yeah, Rick. Yeah, you ain't gonna forgive him for that. Those are rivalry, Bishop Blood.
Then Rick wound up. He went to Cornell and certainly did well there. So Rick
Oh,
played
wow.
played at Cornell, and Ron was really good in baseball. Him and Buddy Wiklinski, and they had all Polish infield, and they won the city championship. Um,
Wow. Yeah,
yeah,
in Syracuse, there was all the Polish section,
yeah.
The Italian section.
uh,
They're all they're
But
all.
Ron was a runner. In fact, he went to he went to Oswego, and he would run home from Oswego, which was like, I don't know, 27, 28 miles, 30 miles. He would
Oh
just
my gosh.
yeah, he would just run home. Just 3 or 4 hours, he was home. It was crazy. Yeah.
Holy mackerel. Wow. All right. So talk about your life after your playing career. You became, I guess, what we call civilian life, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's
You,
a nice way to do
you
it.
had a back injury that sidelined your career in the NFL. 6 years as commissioner on the Syracuse Board of Education. Talk about how football helped your post athletic career.
Um, well, after when I got back up, and a lot of this stuff is pretty fresh to me because I'm in the process of writing a book that's going to come out next year.
Oh yeah,
And it's called NFL One Pick.
it's called what?
NFL One Pick.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and it's the subtitle is "The Story of a Draft King," and it goes through being drafted and
Yeah.
how I was drafted, and one of the things is that when Buffalo decided to pick me number one, I was out at Notre Dame, and they sent a ticket, John Smith, and I went on incognito to Buffalo. I flew to Buffalo, stayed at the general manager's, Pat McGroder's house, and then the next morning we flew together into New York City, where they made the announcement.
Wow.
Now, that was you'd have to be part of the CIA to fly on under some other kind of identity. So it was just amazing. And it's not anything like it is today with
Right.
300, 400,000 people. But it was a big deal. It was at the
Yeah.
JW Marriott, and there probably were 250 reporters, and Pete Rozelle was there, and they did
Yeah.
that. And they gave me my jersey, and I was on all the New York papers and national news. So that was an amazing thrill. And then I
Yeah.
had a guy named Bob Wolf as my was my agent. He had Calvin Murphy. Remember Calvin?
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And then he took care of Derek the Turk Sanderson. He had Jim Plunkett.
No.
So he was probably the number one sports agent at that time.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Yeah.
So going, I'm skipping around, but
So
going back.
you're going. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned you're writing a book, Walt.
Yeah.
I got to get back to writing my book as well. I'm kind of taking a detour here, but yeah, I'm glad. I'm so glad that you're writing that book. Is it going to be about your life just during football, or is it going to talk about your entire life?
Well, it starts off being drafted, and then finding an agent, and then life under the Golden Dome,
Mm-hmm.
and then I played in the college all-star game. They don't even have those anymore. We were playing against the Cowboys. Yeah. And then I played with O.J. Simpson, and was pretty good friends with O.J. and Al Cowlings. Al Cowlings became O.J.'s chauffeur in the
Right.
in the Great Escape. That like 95 million people watched that.
Yeah, just
That's
crazy.
that slow chase, and I was pretty close to O.J. And I never saw anything
Yeah.
come, that would ever hint that something like that was going to go on in the future. But there's a number of stories, and like when I got there, the rock pile. Do you remember the rock pile at all, Paul?
No.
At Buffalo, that's the Buffalo Memorial Stadium. That's where The Natural, for the baseball movie The Natural, they filmed.
Uh-huh.
There was a baseball stadium. It was built in 1939. And so in my first game there, I hurt myself, and my knee was and my patella had got a little whacked, and they gave me a seat in behind a pole, like a beam. Okay, they, I said, "What is this?" And we were playing in this antiquated stadium, and I thought I'd be on the sidelines. And no, I'm up in the stands, and I'm sitting there. I couldn't see anything, and this is a typical Buffalo thing. As a guy taps me on the shoulder, hands me a Labatt's Blue, and says, "Welcome to Buffalo, Walt."
We're like 30% of the seats are obstructed views. It's crazy. Well, man, playing for Notre Dame, I've never. When I was at Bama, when I was at Bama, I
Yeah.
got to represent. There's a big rivalry between Bama and Notre Dame. A lot of Bama
Oh, for
people.
sure.
Notre Dame, I think, has a winning record still to this day over Alabama. Of course, we got a few more national titles, but when people ask me what it's like to play at Alabama, I tell them, well, if you've done it, if you played, no explanation is necessary. But if you haven't played, it's impossible to explain. Is that how it was to play for Notre Dame? It was just
Oh,
amazing.
yeah. I mean, that bowl experience of just, you just assume you're going to play for the national championship at that, that time, and that's not the fact today. But I think maybe you'd be able to relate to this about the playing conditions. Once I got to the NFL, where I was shocked. So that was my first year. We played in Memorial Stadium, and then they were building Rich Stadium the following year. But we had our training camp in University of Niagara, and so we were up there. And then when there was all college facilities. It was
Right.
fine. It was adequate. And then when the students came back, we had to break and go somewhere. And we went to a motel in Blaisdell, New York, which is just about 20 miles outside of Buffalo. Paul, you're probably asking yourself, why would a motel have practice fields and facilities and everything? Well, they didn't. They they took two trailers and cobbed them together. One was for the trainers, the other was for us. And then they had a field that was probably 60 yards long. And then when it snowed, we practiced in the parking lot. They would shovel, they would have a plow come out, and So I mean, you're talking about primitive
Yeah, primitive
conditions.
stuff. Yeah, the conditions have changed
Yeah,
so
yeah,
drastically. Yeah, so drastically.
yeah, yeah. You had to be very careful in the locker room there. There was no room.
So, how's your daughters doing? How's Wallace and Emily doing? How many grandchildren do you have?
I have one,
You have
Lowen. In
one?
fact, he's coming up for Father's Day tomorrow, so on Friday. So we
Oh,
wish
is
it's
he?
gonna, yeah, yeah.
Awesome,
It's 20
awesome.
months. Yeah. So I'm so excited to see him. So that's been a game changer for me.
Well, what kind of advice do you have for young players or young people that are venturing into athletics and deciding where to go to college, how to make decisions? You got any advice for the young guys?
Well, it's just the landscape, Paul, has changed so much.
Yeah,
You need um, you really need somebody that's pretty financially savvy at this
right.
point. Yeah, and contractual. I think you need a lawyer or access to one.
You still need a good advice, maybe now more than ever. You need
Yeah,
somebody. You need a champion in your corner, right? You need
no,
somebody that is
yeah,
going to support you.
somebody that's going to support you that doesn't have a horse in the race. It doesn't,
Right.
it is
Yeah.
just there for pure support, and you're gonna have to rely on probably more, probably a high school coach, guidance counselor. I don't know, whoever somebody really
Right.
trusted, and maybe in your family, a lot of the parents now have been. I think the thing that's changed, a lot of kids have just been programmed
Yeah.
and identified at early ages. I mean, it's like in basketball, if you're not identified in the seventh grade, you're done. I
No,
mean,
it's taking away from multi-sports.
yeah,
You were a multi-sport athlete. You're a great basketball player in track. What did you do in track? I heard that brother Cormac would time you for quarter miles under 57 seconds, time after time after time again. So, what did you do in track? What was your event, Walt?
I wasn't a quarter miler, but I wish I kind of was. But I was a high jumper and discus and shot put. High jumper, 6'2" was the highest I ever went.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Pete Hollahan got you beat. I think he did 6'5", 6'6", or something.
Yeah.
What an athlete he was, wasn't he, Pete
Oh,
Hollahan?
amazing. Yes, for
Another
sure.
Notre Dame, another Liverpool to Notre Dame connection. I don't know if you had anything to do with it, but Pete was an unbelievable
Oh,
athlete.
no, he's a great athlete for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. All right, I got one more. We're going to try to shame Joe Riccardi into coming on because you know how many guys he sent to college. Joe Riccardi did.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
helped
yeah.
so many. I mean, I wouldn't be here. So I wouldn't be sitting here today talking to you if it wasn't Joe Riccardi. Maybe we can get him on the show. Is there
That'd be
anybody
great.
else? Is there anybody else that you know that would be great on the show?
Jay Sacco.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
yeah,
Jay Sacco.
unfortunately, we're starting to lose some of our
Right.
guys, Paul, as you
Right.
know. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get that
Yeah.
age, Walt. We're going to more funerals than weddings, aren't we?
Yeah, unfortunately. So,
Thanks for
well,
being on, man. Thanks, Walt.
thank you. It's been fun, Paul.
Yeah, and I looked
And
up.
look out for that book in 26.
I will, man. And I'm writing a book called Walk On Warrior. So hopefully
Oh,
that'll come
cool.
out soon. But tell your brothers that I said hi. Thanks for doing this, Walt. And we'll keep in touch.
My pleasure, Paul.
Thanks, buddy.
Always.
Bye bye. Walt Patulski. That's right. DraftKings coming out with a book, the #1 pick in the NFL draft in 72. Great guy, friend of the family from Syracuse, New York. Just an unbelievable story. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. If you like this podcast, please share it. Go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. And thanks for watching. Stay tuned for these important messages. Without these great sponsors like Hill Kelly Dodge, Seiler Agency, Ronnie's Car Wash, Pensacola Glass, this show just wouldn't be possible. Thanks for watching. Have a great sports weekend, everybody. See ya.
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at hillkellydodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
That's you trying to fix the plumbing yourself to save a few bucks. Doing things yourself doesn't always end well. The same goes for insurance. That's why Auto Owners works with local independent agents who tailor coverage to meet your needs and offer discounts for life, home, car, and business insurance. Because sometimes you need a professional to get the job done right. That's simple human sense.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray, and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time.
Hey, Bill, some game, huh?
I haven't really noticed, Paul.
What? The biggest game of the year?
I've been looking over my insurance. Talk about problems I'm trying to figure out.
Well, do what I did. Call the Seiler Agency. They showed me what I needed and what I didn't. They even saved me money. Now, instead of worrying about my insurance, I can worry about the big game.
Contact the Seiler Agency at 476-7443 for all of your insurance needs. Your independent agent for home, auto, boat, RV, commercial, general liability, life, and sound investment strategies. Call 476-7443 today.